Okay, here in studio with me to talk about all of this, we have CNN's famous John Berman, also political commentator S.E. Cupp, and cultural critic Kierna Mayo. Also joining us is former FAA safety inspector David Susi. David, I want to start with you. What was that? They came within 100 feet of each other, those two planes. What happened? How does that happen?
I was so narrowly avoided. I mean, if the FedEx pilot had not been on the ball like he was, you got to understand when they're flying in like that and you're getting ready to land, you can't really see anything underneath you. He saw that as he was coming in and aborted his touchdown just at the last few minutes. 100 feet is not long. That airplane itself from ground to tail is only about 60 feet itself. So 100 feet is not far at all. This should not have happened.
But David, I don't get it. How did it happen? I mean, isn't this what air traffic controllers are supposed to be avoiding?
Yeah, they are. And they do have in most airports, 35 of the largest airports have an ground surface device that tells them where the airplanes are and where they're moving and when they're not moving. And this airport does not have that. So that would have helped them, but you can't rely on that. You still have to make your decisions. The only thing I think could have happened here is the air traffic controller asked Southwest to take off, and Southwest took a little longer than normal to actually hit the guns and go. So that could have caused the timing to be off, but it should never have been that close in the first place. If that airplane hadn't have made the go around, it would have landed right on top of that airplane. We would have had one of the worst aviation disasters on our hands.
John Berman, are you aware that I'm a nervous flyer? Haven't we talked about this?
I can't imagine why. Now, look, the way I look at this, all the joy and comfort has been sucked out of flying. I mean, they don't give you leg room. They don't leave on time.
They don't give you peanuts anymore.
No peanuts. The only thing left was to get you there, presumably in one piece.
And drunk.
Most of the time. But now when you see this and you see what happened a few weeks ago, you're wondering if they're losing the thread even there.
Yes, S.E.?
Listen, this is very unsettling. I am also a nervous flyer, and just the visual of being in a plane knowing that could have just happened. But the good news is, it is a really safe time to fly.
Well, it
is
used to
still
be.
a
I used to take heart in that, but it does feel as though these incidents, we've just seen a few of them in the past few months that are making me nervous.
It's true, but facts don't care about your feelings, Allison, and it really is.
Wow.
No, I get that because we hear these stories, but just because we're hearing them doesn't make them all that popular. In fact, it's a very safe time to fly. I talk to pilots, I talk to aviation experts. They say it's really hard for planes to crash these days. So take a little solace, take a little heart.
Hard sell. It's a hard sell to a nervous flyer.
I know.
I mean, who wants to hear? Very much so. Very much so. And you have to do it. Like, we live in the world, we got to get around. But these things do not endear any kind of confidence. It makes you feel like I'm putting my life in these people's hands.
And you are, by the way.
And you are. I mean, and granted, everything S.E. is saying, I'm sure statistically, it's what it's always been. It's far more dangerous to get behind the wheel of a car.
Yeah.
However, the lack of control, like we already realize that we have no control on the plane. Can you just keep us naive and ignorant? Do we have to know about the 100-foot distance? I can throw a ball 100 feet. I can't throw a ball. Like, I could have hit that plane out the window. That's
But
ridiculous.
you know what I'm more worried about as a flyer, because I travel a lot too. I'm more worried these days about my fellow travelers.
Sure, the whole
and the
experience.
freakouts that we're seeing on TikTok and Instagram.
Well, if it gets less than 100 feet, it's going to take care of them too.
Okay, all right, let's not be fatalistic, but I'm more worried about the people sitting next to me these days, which is awful, an awful thing to fear. The passenger next to you.
I don't want to worry about either one of them.
No.
And I totally agree with you.
Ideally.
But David, Essie's right, of course. I mean, air travel is safe, and it's much safer than driving. However, do you think these things are happening? Are there more near misses lately, or is that just my imagination?
Well, it depends on the scope and what you look at it. If you looked back at 2016, there was maybe 7 or 8 of these that happened the entire year. As we move forward, there were years of less and there were years of more. when they happen close together like this, it does tend to make everybody really nervous. But you have to realize there's tens of thousands of people that their entire job is trying to make this flight safe for you. And this is to tell you how many tiers of safety there are, including the air traffic control monitors that they have. But then again, each of the pilots is looking after the safety of the passengers on board. So the fact that this was a safe flight tells you, even when things go wrong, there's very many tiers to make sure that something doesn't go deadly wrong. You know, you have to make sure that you understand that to be able to get on there and fly and understand how much safety and how many levels of safety there are to prevent these things from happening. And it can worry you. I know, I understand that.
Essie, by the way, facts do care about my feelings
ahead.
because here they are right now. I have a full screen of airline issues in just the past month. January 11th, FAA system outage. Halts domestic air travel. That was also nerve-wracking. I don't like it when a whole system goes down. Okay,
Sure, not a safety issue, but
okay.
yes.
Coming up, hold your jets.
Okay, go ahead.
January 17th, near collision at JFK Airport. We've
That's
talked
bad.
about that. February 3rd, United plane clips another plane.
Hi.
At
So that
Newark.
wasn't a near miss.
That's
that
not good.
That was an
an
actual hit. That was a
Okay.
hit. Okay. February 5th, the near collision that
Yeah.
we've been talking about at Austin. And if that isn't enough for you, Essie, just
Okay.
look. I want you to show you the animation
Oh,
that we
good.
did
Good.
of how close they came to each other. Okay. So this is the FedEx plane trying to land. And this is the Southwest Airlines trying to take off. Watch this, please. Whoops. That's what happened right
Yeah,
there.
that's terrifying. Yes, that's terrifying. Yes, I have to fly very soon. I am terrified of that happening now. And let's keep playing it over and over and over again so I don't sleep tonight.
Okay. No, I won't do that. I won't play it. Oh, yes, I will. Here it is.
Yes, you will.
But David, I know that you have also talked about how there's no FAA administrator. But
Yes.
that doesn't really affect. Does that really affect what's happening on the ground? I mean, does that trickle? That's a suit in Washington D.C. Does that really trickle down to what's happening on the runway?
Yeah, you know, you think of these big broad scope things that might affect things. And in this case, it actually does, because you look at this air surface detection system, and it's only in 35 airports. Why is it not in more? And you look at the fact that the systems went down, the air traffic control systems, or that the NOTAM system that went down. I really relate that directly to the fact that there's been more interim FAA directors than there have been FAA directors in the last 5 to 10 years. So it's something to look at. And here's the reason that these systems take a long time to develop. They take 6 to 10 years to go through the life cycle, the development life cycle. And in those times, when you change administrators, the systems don't get the attention they need. They don't get the funding they need. It changes all the time. And so it's hard to get a system completely redone and current. So they end up putting patches on old systems that were designed back in the 60s and 70s, and they keep putting these patches on them to make them safe. They're still safe, but they could be improved much to be able to handle all the different changes and the complexity. This is immeasurably complex, as you can imagine. And there are a lot of people trying to make it safe. And it is the safest way to travel. There's no question. Can it be improved? And would it be improved by an administrator who's in the seat for more than 4 years? Absolutely. I've been touting that for many years, as you know, Allison.
Yeah. I don't want to think there's gaffer's tape patching together my plane somewhere or even in the system. But I take your point, David. Thank you for being a voice of reason with all of this. All right, stick around, everybody. He's our oldest sitting president ever. And it looks like Joe Biden wants another 4 years. Can he convince America in the State of the Union address tomorrow night of why he should be reelected?